Welcome to chapter number 5. We are calling it Imperfect Competitive Market Structure. You realize we are just coming from the discussion of a perfect market structure. So what aspects the aspects that you're going to be finding around are, some of them are exactly directly opposite of the perfect market structure. So we are saying this kind of markets, they are characterized by having competition for market share, high barriers to entry and exit, different products and services, and a small number of buyers and sellers. And we also need to note, like I said, is more of the opposite of the perfect market structure. And companies will sell different products. Here, of course, we will focus examples of these imperfect markets. We are going to focus on what we call monopolies, what we call oligopolies, and what we call monopolistic market structures as our major concentration. So the types of imperfect competition markets, number one is what we call a monopoly. Mono, of course, it means one. So a monopoly is a market structure in which only one firm produces a commodity which has no close substitutes. part of the products that we can say they are monopolies, we would maybe look at what Microsoft are doing in terms of software development. They have completely taken over that market. We also have Meta, which is formerly Facebook. You realize they have also been buying other existing social media platforms. So they want to control almost all the entire social media. They have now IG into their platform. They have WhatsApp. That is examples of how monopolies work. And when you go to different countries, you are going to find things like the supply of power is done by a government agency. So all that are examples of monopoly. So some of the features that we will find in this kind of a market structure is that we have one seller or producer supplying the entire market. And then the buyers are also unorganized. So they compete for the commodity that is only being supplied by one firm. And then there is entry into the market is closed. Monopolist kind of firms will also make sure nobody else is coming into the market. Remember, we have said in perfect market structure, there is free entry and exit. But here it is the opposite. We are going to have very many limitations that are going to be preventing you from entering the market. An example is huge cost of licensing for anyone interested in entering that market. And you realize some of these monopolies will also enjoy government protection. They have people in high places that can prevent people from coming into the market so that they continue to enjoy the benefits alone. We also have huge promotional and selling costs are incurred in order to expand the market base. So of course, you being the sole provider, you have also to invest in people knowing that you exist. And we're also saying that the monopoly firm is a price maker or a price giver. It is this firm that determines the price at which it will sell its products. Yeah. Those people that are using Facebook for business, there are costs that you have to meet. There is nothing you can do about it because that is somebody that has built that platform. So if they say even you are paying $100 and you really want to use this platform, you will just find yourself using it. Then the other one is price discrimination. As it may be possible, this is a situation where the firm charges different prices for the same commodity in different markets. Look at what is happening in the oil industry. Because of the kind of monopoly aspect that exists in that industry, we have price discrimination in that you're going to find the cost of petrol, diesel will differ even from country to country, depending on what those that are playing the monopoly role are doing and what other interests they have in the market. Maybe they want to maximize on profit, what we have just mentioned in our previous market. So they will maybe give prices that may seem are very exploitative. And then where do the firms that are monopoly in nature, where do they derive their power to continue to remain monopoly firms? Number one is control of an important input in production. So a firm may control a strategic input or the entire raw material. Look at the mining industry, for example. You realize a farm will own pieces of land on where we have these resources. So they take control of those pieces of land, and therefore they manage to be able to create a monopoly. The other one is ownership of production rights, where the rights of to production or ownership of a commodity, patent rights. Those are what we call rights to protect your goods, copyrights, maybe in terms of book publishers, royalties belong to one person or a firm. Then that creates a monopoly. I'm sure you understand on that what it means to have what we call intellectual property. That is where we discuss patents, copyrights, royalties. So if I know that I have a unique product that no one else can be able to develop, then I patent it. I use the law to protect that product, that no one is going to copy the product. The other one is the size of the market, where the market is rather small and can only be supplied profitably by one firm. And finally is where a group of firms combine to act as one. Some firms may voluntarily combine or amalgamate so that they can push away every other person. That is what we call cartels. Then we have restrictive practices. A firm may engage in restrictive practices in order to force other firms out. So in terms of pricing, they will take advantage of the pricing so that they push people out. Then we have financial factors, where the initial capital outlay required is very large. That is another source of monopoly. So they will make sure that for you to start a similar business, you need to have good money. And most people that are unable to reach that, they will not be able to venture into that market. And the other one is where the government establishes a firm and gives it monopoly power to produce and sell cheaply. So through government policies, we can also have monopolies. So government, like we have said, can play a crucial role in protecting players in this monopoly market. Advantages of monopoly, of course, we have the good side of it. Better working conditions to employees because of higher profits. You realize these kind of companies may well remunerate their employees very well. In some monopolies, high standards or services, goods are offered. The other one is monopolies always enjoy economies of scale. This may help the consumer in that the goods supplied by a monopoly will bear low prices. A monopoly may also have extra profit earned to carry out research. So because of the huge amounts of money that they make, they can be able to have kitty set aside for research into how they can continue to venture into other markets. And then we have the consumer is protected in that essential services such as water, power supply is not left to private businesses who would exploit the consumers. So there is also some form of protection that consumers enjoy, like for example for the supply of power. If somebody is running it alone, of course we have the good side and the negative side. So people, if monopolies really want to serve consumers, they can be able to give them the best in terms of water, in terms of supply, and so on and so forth. Another one is disadvantages. Monopolies may gain political power to protect their interests. That is a major disadvantage. Consumers lack freedom of choice in the product produced. So you do not have a choice. You have to take the product. The other one is low quality products may be availed to consumers due to lack of competition. So even as we say that we are going to enjoy these services, some of them may be low quality products. The other one is higher prices of consumers, and the other one is lack of innovation, because these guys know that they are existing in this market alone. they will continue to do the same thing over and over again. Therefore, consumers may not feel any change by the services offered by a monopoly. Then another kind of an imperfect market structure is what we refer to as an oligopoly. This kind of a market structure, we have few firms that are operating. In it, we can have what we call duopoly. So we have two firms. For example, Coca-Cola and Pepsi in the beverage industry. And then we also have what we call perfect or pure oligopoly. Examples, companies that are in the petroleum products industry, Total, Shell, and now we are bringing in people like Rubies. So you realize we will not have very many of them in a certain space. So examples of oligopolies, we can also talk about the airline industry and the pharmaceuticals industry. Features of oligopoly, we have a few large sellers and many buyers. The firms are interdependent among themselves, especially in their output and pricing. Non-price competition, firms are in a position to influence the prices. And then there is barriers of entry and exit into the firm. High cost of selling of products through methods of advertising. So because of you being quite a number of you in the market, you also have to invest in advertising to make sure that your business is also making some sales. Products produced are either homogeneous or differentiated. And then there is high price rigidity. That is to mean that once a price has been arrived at in an oligopolist market, it tends to remain stable. And finally, we have what we call monopolistic competition. It combines elements of monopoly and competitive markets. And companies in this kind of a market will offer competing products or services. But you realize that these products and services may not be perfect or close substitutes. Examples are hair salons, restaurants, household items, clothing. So restaurants, for example, compete on quality of food such as price. So we can have very many restaurants, but they will now compete in terms of who is going to do a very nice serving. Hairdressers, we have very many also, but now it depends on the uniqueness of service that these people are providing. Clothing, television programs, all those can be classified as monopolistic. So that is the end of that particular discussion on imperfect competitive market structures. I invite you to read more to be able to understand the nature of these markets, find out more examples and how these markets also operate.